Hey, this is Molly. Welcome back as we're going to take a look at the Scorpio Total Lunar Eclipse happening on May 15th, 2022, although it could be on May 16th, depending on your time zone and location on the planet. So here we have our chart for the Scorpio full moon lunar eclipse, which brings our attention to that moon in Scorpio at 25 degrees, and it is conjunct the south node, which is at 22 degrees of Scorpio during this eclipse. And that means the sun is, of course, on the opposite side here at 25 degrees of Taurus, working with the north node in Taurus. So right away, we always have this opposition between the sun and the moon for every full moon. But it is an eclipse, so it's supercharged, more emotional, more intense, and bigger things are coming up now that are very important that we need to pay attention to. Scorpio connects us to the transformation process and how all parts of our energy are designed to keep transforming, be it physically, emotionally, financially, mentally, etc. Scorpio reminds us that we're made to take what we need going forward and leave the rest behind, and that we're designed to work with this from a place of power. And this feels like an eclipse where we're separating out what is no longer powerful, what no longer resonates, what's no longer emotionally connecting, maybe what is confusing, intense, complicated. That is an energy that Scorpio can actually be very good at. Scorpio is a detective, researcher, investigator. Let me go into this. Let me understand this. What's happening? What's happening within me emotionally that I'm looking at really changing, elevating, no longer needing. Because when the moon is working with that south node, it is a letting go. It's something that you're meant to purge or cleanse out. On the other side of the chart, this Taurus energy wants to make things simple, wants you to understand what does matter to you and where you find stability, especially within yourself. Now, Uranus, as we know, is in Taurus and has been destabilizing and disrupting parts of our life and parts of ourselves. And this sun in Taurus that was conjunct that north node 3 days before the eclipse is reminding you of what you really need, what is really something that gives you a sense of grounding, certainty, stability, because it's based on what is true for you inside. Now, this is a strong energy of simplifying your life and accepting, it's almost like accepting what's easy or straightforward as you understand or let go of deeper things that have been below the surface, which is also Scorpio. And Scorpio is basically the roots underground, the roots that we don't see. There's something you're meant to pull out by the roots. And then you think of how Taurus is what we do see. It's above the earth. It's the flowers you see growing, but you don't always know the underground root system. This feels like something we're pulling out of ourselves, uprooting it from an emotional level, at the deeper levels of our psyche, unconscious patterns we've been involved in, and things that we're realizing just don't feel good or don't feel like they're in alignment with your energy anymore. So there is intense energy here of realizing what you're done with and what you're meant to move forward away from, because it's connected to more of your true calling, your value systems, what you want, what you need. And the universe could even be showing you it can be this simple. It can be this simple. And then if you go into your own emotional realms, that could bring up questions like, can it be simple? What about this? What about that? What about my past? What about where I've been? What about what I've done before? This is all here that we're cleansing, transforming, elevating for ourselves, and understanding more of what has been basically living and growing within ourselves at very deep levels. And again, I just have that image of like, just pull it out by the roots. Some of those things, they have some damn deep roots too. So this is where there could be that pain or that pressure because you're realizing something with this lunar eclipse that maybe has persisted. You haven't let go of. It's been like connected to you. And the Scorpio energies are connected to others, other people, other energies, other institutions, other obligations. Like it's where the energies come together. But this is really meant to help you separate out what is no longer true for you. And so to add to the mix here, we have some very fascinating energies going on. So this energy of the moon at 25 degrees and the sun at 25 degrees, they are receiving support from Pluto and Neptune, Mars. Now, Scorpio has two rulers, Pluto and Mars. Pluto is working favorably here with the sun, making a trine, and the moon. You're ready. You're feeling it. Like this is something that's driving you. Now, yes, this Pluto is retrograde, but that's because there's something you're intensely connecting with at a deeper level of your being. And then Neptune at 24 degrees of Pisces, trining the moon, sextiling the sun, and conjunct Mars, Mars being the other ruler of Scorpio. This is a weakened Mars because he's not strong in Pisces and he's conjunct Neptune. So this can be an exhaustion of not knowing. You could feel it physically. Your body might need more rest. There could be parts of yourself that you feel are deeply integrating, but it feels like a slowdown. Neptune is dominant here over that Mars. So basically, spiritual will is stronger than human will, which is always the case really with Pisces. It's rising up into that higher perspective of your higher self. It's going into more of these energies that our bodies are feeling and sensing, but it could be a lot. That could be the overload. Always watch your health when Mars is in Pisces, especially working with Neptune, because yeah, there can be a slowdown. There can be things you're noticing in your body. You need more sleep, you need more rest. But this is an integration, is what I'm feeling, of that spiritual knowingness into your physical self, your body consciousness that's helping to direct you going forward, even though it can feel, again, slow, sluggish, or confusing. Like, I'm just tired. I'm just tired right now. I'm tired of this, whatever that is for you. Maybe we're just still tired of all these Pisces energies, although you've noticed they have moved on. We'll be talking about that. But notice too that this is ultimately supporting you. This physical slowdown is right on time because you're meant to surrender something and basically allow spirit to drop it in, connect you to it emotionally, intuitively, spiritually. Sometimes this Mars can be lifted in Pisces, sort of like a acrobat, where you're being lifted up and your feet aren't on the ground and you're floating and flying. So there's a higher perspective that you're meant to see. So with Pluto and Neptune, Mars working favorably with these luminaries, that is the energy of your soul growth and your higher self, the right timing, things shifting, things right on time for shifting. But oh, damn it, Saturn is squaring this eclipse, and that Saturn energy is quite intense because Saturn is the 3D. Now, energies begin in the higher realms, and it takes longer for them to arrive in the 3D. So as we've been moving through various cycles and energies, we've been feeling it, we've been sensing it. There's something that's driving us, that's connecting us to what our purpose, what our mission, what our work is. understanding the bigger spiritual path, or understanding really what is meant for you, and that you can't force it, right? And then finally, the energy comes to the 3D. It lands in the 3D, which is Saturn's domain. And that's the reality check, as we have this Saturn squaring the sun and then squaring the moon. So this Saturn is bringing in the reality check of what you're transforming that you've already been aware of through Pluto, Neptune, Mars. It's like now Saturn is, okay, how's this going to land? How's this going to affect where I'm going, what I'm doing? That Saturn in Aquarius is at nearly 25 degrees. So the third decan of Aquarius, which is really about who you are as an individual. This is your individual path. Now that Aquarius energy, as with every astrology sign, is meant to evolve as it progresses through every degree point. So here Saturn is at the 25 degree point in Aquarius, where there's things we've already become aware of about group dynamics, friendships, people we know, people we're connected to in the world at large, the people we work with, which would be Saturn, the people we're connected to that we have responsibilities to, or they have responsibilities to us. But this is a more mature understanding of what you need to do on your own terms, and to basically step away from the people who are maybe overly reliant, or you're feeling overly responsible for. So of course, take this as it fits for you. But there's basically a responsibility being required of every single person. Every person in a community, in a family, in a group, every person who, works together or who has something in common. Now there's an understanding of what you're meant to do on your own, and where others are meant to go on their own path as well. And that could be part of this separation energy here, where Saturn's applying the pressure of, okay, maybe this has gone as long as it can go. Maybe this is where it's just clear that our energies are not a fit, or that there's something that you're meant to continue to follow on your own terms, Taurus. And yet it's complicated, more emotional, more things can be wrapped up together. It's like you share finances with people, or you have things in common, you have things that overlap, and how do you separate that out? And this is an eclipse. That pressure from Saturn is quite big, it's quite dominant, because it's, again, the 3D. So this is also the conversations that you've been thinking about and maybe you need to have, the meeting you need to, make an announcement or tell people about. Like there's something here that could be broadcasted. Like it could be something that you state publicly, that you have to make it known, state your position, state your boundaries, give that review of this is what's working, this is not what's working, those kinds of things, because it is the bigger picture of it all, like where we're headed, where we're going. And Saturn is that reality check of what's working, what's not working. And we've had Saturn applying this pressure to the nodes throughout April 2022. So this is not new energy, by the way. This is probably already something you've been sitting with, feeling, understanding. Like your mind could be spinning. There could be a lot of even mental fatigue going on here. So that's why I wanted to actually give you more about a roadmap here, because Saturn is very important for understanding 7-year cycles. So here Saturn is, May 2022. And this is a checking in point of where you've been and where you're going. So where you've been, Saturn was in Scorpio, the third decan of Scorpio, in 2014. So was there something you were working on that was big for you in 2014? Now is a Saturn square asking you to look at that, consider it. Is it still valid? Is it still true? Is it still right for you? Does it fit with what you want? Because this eclipse would say that it's over, it's ending, it's completing. And that could be something, depending on where this is in your chart, of course, where this 25 degrees of Scorpio is, it might not be something you see right away. It could just have been even when Saturn was here in Scorpio, something was a big deal. You know, it brought you into the depths of something. It left a strong emotional imprint. It brought up something in this part of your chart that, you know, you really had to go through that Scorpio process around. And so now this Saturn is providing the square and saying, okay, now step away, detach, Aquarius, detach, look at the bigger picture. Look at where you need to remove some emotion. There can be too much emotion at times in Scorpio, where it's like just drowning in all the feelings and the fears. You can be operating off of a fear and not even know it. And Saturn is saying, now, in the history of the whole world, hasn't everything gotten figured out, or there's a solution or something that you've been able to work with or work through? So take out some of the emotion and look at it from that detached, more objective perspective. That's going to then help you with a new 7-year plan where Saturn is going to be here in the third decan of Taurus, 2029. So where do you need to make some changes and put some things in place so that by the end of the decade, there's something here that you understand what you're building towards, you're moving towards. It's shifting you up. It's shifting you up to something that is actually a better fit for what you ultimately want in your life. And this could be with less people, less things, less stuff, less. Because again, not only does that Taurus want to simplify, but Uranus is there already asking you to throw things out, make changes, look at what is not really true for you anymore, and to trust that. But this is not a simple conversation, because for all the things you can know about yourself or what is true for you, what you want, well, there's things that you have to decide. And this is the long-term thinker, Aquarius. It's like, well, what's the bigger picture of all this? And then, of course, that Scorpio energy of, well, look at everything involved. Now, this is also an eclipse that highlights financial energy, since that is what Scorpio and Taurus actually rule. And this is where you might need to make some tough financial decisions to let things go because of where you're going. And so Saturn brings us into the present, into the moment. Yes, Saturn has the record keeping of all of the consequences, choices, karma, things you've been through. But Saturn brings you to today. This is today. This is today. So what do you need to do today that is best for you in a long-term plan? That, by the way, remember, this is your higher self in 5D. This is your soul's journey overall. And those energies are supporting this transformation. It just can feel like there's things in the 3D that are disintegrating, falling apart, being challenged. They're not connecting because the energy is done, or it's shifted and it's not supported as it once was. So this Saturn is applying the pressure that says, okay, now's the time. Because Saturn is about time. He's the timekeeper, the time in our lives, that the ways we spend our lives. So you're getting a check-in from 2014 and into 2029 about where you've been, where you're going. Now, if you also have strong energies in Leo, Saturn was in Leo at this third decan in 2007. So for some of you, maybe this Scorpio lunar eclipse, if you have these degree points in your chart, then 2007 could be coming up. There's an opposition between Saturn and Aquarius to maybe something that was personally big or important for you in 2007. So this is where we can work with things more consciously, is to understand these cycles, the cycles of time, how it connects to different parts of ourselves, different parts of our lives, different parts of our energy, and then what you're ready to change, because the lunar eclipse is about change. This is a total lunar eclipse, very dynamic, very big energy. And I feel like there could even be like some things that just collapse, where if you've been holding it together and it collapses, that brings up a big fear but your soul has something that it's already connected to or planning, and then the spiritual support is there. So this is a big time of being brutally honest with yourself, which is a beautiful gift to Scorpio. Just be so damn honest with yourself that you're like, you know what? I thought I could keep doing this, or I thought this was me, or I thought this was what I wanted, but I think I was operating out of something lower, of a fear, of some kind of, maybe as a perception, maybe it was something that felt powerful and then it didn't. And you've just been on autopilot and now you're like, actually, this doesn't feel good at all. This is where things are complicated in my life. This is where it feels even heavy. So watch and see if that Scorpio energy has brought in a downward spiral. That south node in Scorpio is where we clear out, we let go, we say, yeah, it really doesn't have the energetic significance that it used to, no longer resonates, not truly in alignment with where I'm going, because now I understand this is what I want in the Taurus areas of your chart. Now, the other things I wanted to highlight in this chart is that we talked about Mars and how Mars is weakened right now by that conjunction to Neptune. Well, Venus is in her detriment in Aries, but she just had a conjunction to Chiron, which also for her feels like that injury, that vulnerability, that wound, something she wants to get started. And then she's like, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know. There's a sense here of that Venus. She's not as fiery when she has that conjunction to Chiron, and she tends to stop and think if it is what she really, really wants. So she also is a bit sidelined. And then we also have this Mercury, 3 degrees of Gemini, home sign, but retrograde. So this Mercury, a lot of ideas, maybe a lot to say. A lot to say, but not knowing what to say, how to say it, but feeling like the mind is very busy. But then again, that Mercury, see how the retrograde in his home sign is also slowing him down. So it's interesting that these 3 personal planets, Mars, Venus, and Mercury, are basically sidelined. They aren't as strong or as empowered. They are basically taking a back seat to a bigger picture in your life that's changing. Now, this Mercury is making a sextile to Jupiter now in Aries at nearly 1 degree of Aries. And as this Jupiter journeys back right after this lunar eclipse, it will have an exact sextile to Jupiter, and that will bring in an idea, a solution, a conversation, something good, something with movement, something that, again, maybe you wanted to say it, and now you're like, I'm ready to speak or say something, express it, communicate it. So that is going to support this energy. Also look at how this Jupiter is at 0 degrees, right? 59 minutes of Aries, the very, very beginning of the zodiac wheel, the very, very beginning of a new 12-year cycle. And so here, this Scorpio lunar eclipse is like, well, that's got to go. That's not going to fit. That's not going to work. That's the old you. That was another version of your life, of yourself, of something you wanted at that time. But there's still something new bubbling underneath the surface, right? It's moving forward. It's coming in. It's showing you more of where you're ready to go next, because this Aries energy brings you back into yourself, into your own aura, into your energy, into what really is true for you. And this could feel empowering. This could lift you up, where other things could be a little bit much or intense, depending on how you're feeling. The Saturn squaring the moon and the sun. It's almost like people's energies could be very erratic, rebellious, unpredictable. This could be so disruptive too. I mean, this could feel like you just had no idea. Somebody would have a strong emotional response to something that you said, but this is clearing out the lower Scorpio energies of looking at where things are out of balance, overly invested, where there's too much almost like wrapped up in something, like emotionally obsessed. Anything that it's not healthy. Something is not healthy and it's coming to your attention. But it's coming out, like it comes out in the conversations. And so there could be something you have to discuss very maturely or confront, or again, like something, there could be something, I'm going to say difficult, but from Saturn, it's just about maturity. It's how you approach it, right? It's how you have the conversation. It's how you address something with the group. It's how you make the announcement. I remember when I worked in various corporate roles and things messed up, like there was a public mess up, and then you would consult the PR team, or how do we address this? How do we make this right? What do we say? And basically you address it in a very forthright manner. And you say, we made a mistake, or this wasn't what we thought would happen, or something. It's like this very direct, honest communication that is connected to the facts, connected to what you need to say and what people need to hear, but in a respectful manner, where there's a sense of ownership, taking responsibility. Yes, that was our fault. Yes, we messed that up. We're so sorry, right? It just has this very clean cut energy, which can be the best expression of Saturn in Aquarius. But you're dealing with people's emotions and your own emotions. And you're dealing with maybe some things that, they remind you of how easy it can be, but it's not going to feel easy at first. It's not going to feel easy at first. I mean, there could be something you just have to address, get it out of the way, and then it becomes easier. Then it shifts into something else that is going to be calmer. So we really have to deal with something from that mature, responsible place in ourselves and in our lives that is ultimately pushing you to grow. And even if in the moment it has that intensity, there's support here. There's things happening behind the scenes that are supporting you in moving it forward. So look at how there is energetic movement. Even though this could feel like something is stuck, go to Pluto or go to that Neptune, and you're going to have what you need. The energy is going to release. It's going to release through the trines to Neptune and Mars, or through the trine to Pluto retrograde in Capricorn. Now, another thing to keep in mind is that every year we have a Scorpio full moon. And this year it's extra powerful, as we've discussed. And it's also connected to the annual celebration of Wesak. And that is essentially about when Buddha was born, became enlightened, and died. And it's an international celebration, and it is connected to the Scorpio full moon. And think about how beautiful those archetypes are through those Scorpio energies of something being birthed, reaching enlightenment through that evolutionary transition, and then a death. And that could be something that you're understanding about where you're shifting and changing. Like you're reaching an enlightenment here. There's something that you're clear on. It's almost like you're right. You're seeing it clearly. Saturn is saying you're seeing it clearly. There's something. Saturn is giving you the strength to see and believe in what that is. But then we bring in the emotional intensity, the fears, power struggles. Again, the lower expressions of Scorpio can be highly triggered, and they can show us what needs to be let go of, which is loss. I mean, this can be grief. There can be sorrow. There can be something that you're fully emotionally understanding and letting go of, that maybe wasn't expected. It wasn't something that you thought you'd be here, but it's also right on time. I mean, this is actually quite divine. If you can connect to that and just kind of elevate up out of some of the 3D immediate environment stuff, there's going to be something that just feels like it's walking with you, right? It's your higher self is right there. Your soul's wisdom is traveling with you. And so this can be very karmic, by the way. This could have some intense karma to it that you're releasing, you're putting down. You're like, I am done with that chapter. I'm done with that story because I'm done with that part of myself. There's something within yourself that is evolving forward, and that's really worth celebrating. So keep in mind there is a lot wrapped up into the Scorpio full moon lunar eclipse, but it is right on time, as it always is through the universe's divine timing. It can push you. It can feel like there's things that, you're really having to take care of and deal with. But there's always the energy that moves us forward. So keep the long-term perspective. By the end of the decade, that's what Saturn is moving you towards, is something that you're ready to build, develop, grow. And also just keep in mind that this could be one of those eclipses where you look back and energetically understand how powerful it made you, like how much it really connected you to more of your own truth, to more of what is essential for you in this life, and that there are good things happening, even though we have to be very aware of when the changes are happening and the choice points are coming up. So serious choice points, turning points. This is also about the passage of time, the time in your life, how you're spending your life, how we can't take time for granted. And then it's easy to stay on autopilot or to stay where you are, or to just stay doing what you've always done. I mean, these are the fixed signs. They're wonderful at that. The fixed signs are great at being reliable, determined, passionate. But this is where Saturn is like, it's time. It's time. It's time for something to change. And you can fight it. It would probably be futile, because then here's Neptune is going to remove it anyways, because the universe and your soul knows there's something else that you're meant to be focused on and moving towards. So take the long-term perspective and approach, and that will help with anything in the immediate energy or the immediate environment. So yes, a big one, a very big total lunar eclipse. In fact, I did a full podcast episode for you describing these energies even more. So please listen to that, check that out. And I hope that this chart reading has helped you understand more of the dynamics in play, what's going on, and what we're ready to essentially leave behind, remove, complete, and transform within ourselves so that we can know a new level of peace. A new level of peace, harmony, love, acceptance. Like, this is good stuff. It just might not be what you connect to right away, but that's what the universe wants to help return you to. Thank you so much for joining me. As always, I appreciate your time, energy, and presence. I'll be back with a new podcast episode every Monday and Wednesday, and then I release new videos for you here every Friday on YouTube. Take good care, and I'll see you back here soon.